All right, here we go. Overdrive, off and running. TSN 1050 on the TSN app, your home smart speaker. Brian Hayes, the O-Dog, Jeff O'Neill, Jamie Noodles McLennan on a mail-it-in Friday here. I wish I could say beautiful weather in Toronto, but it's not. And I'm cursing people. I'm cursing people who decided to tell us it's over, it's beautiful now.
I know.
It's spring.
Ridiculous.
Don't worry about it. We'll be golfing by March 25th.
I've got numerous messages like that where it's like Easter weekend, clubs opening up. Really, huh?
Yeah. Thank you.
That's next weekend.
Right, exactly. It was never going to happen anyway, but such a buffoonery move. We're Canadians. We know the way this works. Mother Nature's greasy. She's gutless. She won't allow it to happen. I don't care how nice it was last week. I don't care how mild it's been. It's been a great winter. I love the mild weather.
But don't be shocked if this sticks around for like a month.
Oh, of course it will.
Yeah.
Of course it
sure.
will.
It could happen.
Absolutely. Absolutely. 100%. And
Blizzard.
Yeah,
I'm so frustrated because I called you guys yesterday, or I messaged you yesterday from Edmonton, and I was driving in a blizzard. And now I'm in a blizzard here in Toronto. It's ridiculous.
yeah, that's the nature of the beast. There's not much we can do about that. But, hey, what are you going to do? We're into spring. Everyone's excited. March Madness is continuing. McDavid's here. Edmonton came with you, right? The storm. Maybe you guys are to blame for that. It's the Oilers and Noodles for flying in. And there is I think there's a McDavid buzz. It feels like it. I would assume they're flying in today. I don't have all the details on that. But certainly by tomorrow night, like it doesn't get much bigger than that. And when you consider what happened last night, like McDavid had 4 assists.
Hyman again.
Hyman had 2 last night. He's 2 off 50.
Dude.
Like if he hits 50 in Toronto on a Saturday night, that will be a wild story tomorrow night.
But doesn't it seem like he gets 2 a game? It's like he's going to get 50 tomorrow. He gets 2 every night.
Yeah, he has 48 on the year. I mean, he's a goal-scoring machine. He's not far off McDavid. The guy or Matthews is
goal-scoring machine.
He is a goal-scoring machine.
I know
he's a goal-scoring
man.
machine. That's what he is, man. That's what he's inside 10 of Matthews, and Matthews is having the greatest season of his career. Exactly.
Yeah.
And Hyman's like right behind him. It's crazy.
Dude, It seems like just he goes to the net. He's got like 1 net drive goal a game, and then it's like 1 tip in, or like, I don't know. It seems like the same goal almost every night, and it's like they don't ask how. It's 40. It's 47, man. 48.
Yeah, he's got 48. He's got 48 goals. And the second Ekholm goal last night, where McDavid was dancing in the neutral zone and then Draisaitl like behind the back. It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy. And you can't ask for anything better because, it's too bad Marner's not playing tomorrow and he's not going to play this weekend. And the spidey senses are starting to fly for some people. Like I was in here doing a hit with Marty, and Marty Baron and I had a different viewpoint on when it gets to a point where you're concerned about Marner. I'm not. I think it's as long as he's ready to go 100% for game 1. He's not a rookie. He's not a kid. He can play with anyone. Ideally,
I said it last week, man. It's like when you're 100% Marner,
Yeah.
it's 5 days after that. Don't even think about coming back.
Exactly.
It's 100% and then 5 days.
Be ready for the playoffs. But ideally, you come back before. And Marty made a compelling case where, an injury like that, if it lingers and it throws off your timing and your energy and you feel like you're jumping on a moving train, that's certainly not ideal. But Marner's not a 19-year-old kid trying to figure this out. I mean, he's a veteran. It's his 8th year in the league. He's played a lot of playoff games.
Yeah, it would be nice for him to be back, though.
Sure.
That's the thing. Like, I don't know. Am I wrong? It's kind of lower body, like tweak something like a week type of thing, and then now it's like high ankle sprain. Isn't the high ankle sprain 4 to 6?
Well, it differs. I mean, there have been examples of guys who have come back in 2 or 3 weeks. Some guys come back in 3 months, 4 months. Sometimes it gets to a point where I don't know if you can have surgery on that. I'm assuming you can. And I'm sure there's examples of that. But it can be, Noodles. Sure.
Yeah.
Like it can be. And I think the initial reporting, I think Dreger had it, and Dreg said it's minor. They're not overly concerned. He's been skating on and off. But, yeah, we just saw Joseph Wall go through it. It took him like 8 weeks or more than that.
It was over 2 months for Joseph Wall.
Yeah.
Over 2 months.
So, and I believe it was when he didn't shoot on the empty net in Boston and then twirled around the net and he did it to himself. I don't think anyone touched him.
No, he kind of toe picked falling backwards, and his ankle kind of. It was a weird play, but that's how something like that happens. It's just. I don't know, but when he's 100%, it's 5 days after that for me because I'm just not taking any chances.
You don't need to. They're in a position where you know what's going to happen.
Yeah,
Like
they're not going anywhere.
They're not going anywhere. Tampa won last night. Tampa, they do have 2 games against Tampa, so technically the Lightning are still on their heels, but they're not.
They're 5 back. It's a bit of back. They're too
They
far,
have a
I
buffer here. Like it's pretty well established. The Leafs are going to be the 3rd seed. They're starting in Florida or in Boston. And that's another reason why there's no you don't have to rush the guy back. You're not playing to get into the playoffs. You're not playing for home ice. It's very routine the rest of the way. But he's out. Yarncrocs out. I guess Bertuzzi wasn't skating again today, and I guess he's dealing with some sort of illness that he may not even play tomorrow night. So from that standpoint,
what is the illness going around with these guys?
It's lingering.
Holy smokes,
honestly,
man.
can we get some hazmat suits in there? Like every other day, there's another guy. Lyubushkin's still not playing tomorrow. He hasn't played all week. He's been sick. He skated today. He's not playing because he's still sick, or he's getting over whatever he got over, and that's tough.
I don't know. I keep saying this, guys. Do it now. Like I'd rather have them have some. Injuries / sickness and all that right now instead of April, whatever it is, April 21st. And now you're in one.
Usually it's like a guy gets the flu and then maybe a couple guys. This is like, there was something weird going around like 3 or 4 years ago in Anaheim that was like called the mumps
mono.
or something.
Wasn't it mono or the mumps? Remember Crosby? Remember Crosby's face is like, no, I don't have the mumps. And he looked like a chipmunk. Remember that?
Yeah,
that
exactly.
was weird. It's like Anaheim was like the host, and teams that went through Anaheim ended up getting the mumps or something.
That's right.
That was weird as hell.
I was told, though, I think St. Louis was patient X. St. Louis took it in. I was told that by, I think Jay Bouwmeester told me that. He said,
How did they come up with that, though? They said.
Because they were like the first ones that went in, and then everyone got sick, and then after that, everybody who went into Anaheim, that was it. Like all hell broke loose, but then it was like a month-long thing through the league, like almost like a epidemic / pandemic that went through the league.
Yeah, I remember that, and that was before COVID. Before we all had PhDs in picking off symptoms.
Oh, yeah.
Which remember that during COVID, that was a sniffle. I think he's got everyone all of a sudden turned into an expert on picking off symptoms, and that's what was happening then, though, too. It's like, I think that's mumps, man. We'd know. How would you possibly be able to pick off mumps from your couch? But that's what we were doing because that's exactly what was going on in the league. And there's no reason to believe anything crazy like that's happening with the Leafs, clearly. But they have had a lot of illness, and I agree with you, Noodles. If it's going to happen, I guess
do it now.
Happen now, so come playoff time, everyone's happy and healthy and ready to go. But as for tomorrow night, Matthews is playing, McDavid's playing, Draisaitl's playing, Hyman's playing. The Oilers are red hot. You see what happened in the third period last night? That Buffalo team, they were.
You called it, Hayes, though. You called it yesterday because I was watching the game, and that was a close game.
2-0 Buffalo.
I know, it was 2-0 Buffalo, 3-3. Buffalo got ahead 3-2, then it was 3-3, and I'm like, okay, this is going to grind out. And then Edmonton just opened up the doors after that, and all hell broke loose. But Hayes, you said this was going to be a big score. McDavid was going to get a bunch, and you said, "Yeah, Hyman will probably get 2 and be going for 50 on Saturday." You literally had a trifecta of a call yesterday.
Yeah, I hit that
one. You got right.
I only got one. Actually, I got 2. There was another bet. What was the other one? Oh, I bet the over in the Ottawa game, and that went over. I did think the Islanders would win last night, and it's like Sorokin. He cannot be on speaking terms with Patrick Waugh. Waugh must want to get his own gear on soon and go out there because he's getting shelled. Detroit didn't have a lot of shots on him last night.
No.
He just got shelled. It's a mess. And the Islanders have they lost 6 in a row now? And Detroit's kind of stumbled back the other way where I think they're 3-1 now in the last 4.
That's Sorokin, dude. He was like the best goalie in the league last year, and he cannot make a save this year.
He can't.
He's a very skilled goalie. But you know what? The weirdest thing, and I think we were talking about it with Eddie O the other day, can you imagine, that would be like playing for Gretzky, from a goaltender standpoint. I remember Tyson Nash telling me, he's like, I'm sitting on the bench and I look back and Wayne Gretzky's shaking his head at me going, why can't you make that tape-to-tape pass? Sorokin's sitting in the net and one of the greatest goaltenders who ever played the game is staring at him going, I would have made that save.
Yeah.
Well, he made the comment last week where he said, I'm not too pleased with him right now. I'm sure he's not pleased with himself.
Yeah.
It's like if some Joe Blow coach says that, it's one thing, but Patrick Waugh says, I'm not pleased with him, and he shouldn't be pleased with himself.
I wonder,
tough.
it's got to be tough being a goalie coach working on Patrick
Yes.
Waugh's staff.
No
Yes.
kidding.
Because even the coach, like, he's got to go to Patrick and be like, all right, here's my plan. And if Waugh's like, oh, really? That's your plan?
Yeah, I've never heard of that drill.
Oh, I'm not familiar with that. I'm in the Hall of Fame. But you tell me and you explain to me how that's going to help us get out of it. Like, that would be a terrifying exam every day. I got to go into Patrick Waugh's office and explain what I'm going to do with this guy who he hates. And he can't stop
Or what
a
about
beach
something
ball right
simple
now.
like, the goalies aren't going to go on the ice today? Actually, yeah, they are. Yeah, they are.
I did.
Yeah.
Hey, I
Yeah.
remember I did in 93. What were you doing in 93? What were you doing? I'm curious what you were doing in 93. I'm just out of curiosity because I know what I was doing. I was winning a Stanley Cup.
Yeah.
What were you doing? No.
It's so true, though. But luckily, Mitch Korn is known as Yoda.
I hear you, but still.
Mitch Korn is known as one of the best goaltender coaches ever, but it is still, I'm sure, intimidating. Because Mitch Korn, you're right, in 93 wasn't lifting the cup.
No,
Like-
exactly. What were you doing when were you in Colorado ever? I've been there before. You ever been there? It's a nice
Yeah.
place. My number's up in the rafters. Ever been to the
Name
Forum?
the street after me.
Yeah, exactly.
literally.
Ever held a torch on opening night at the Bell Center? It doesn't matter. What's your plan for tonight? Tell us how we're getting out of this. I can't wait to hear it. It would just be terrifying, I think,
But
for
that's-
everyone involved.
I say this all the time. Don't you think there was an attitude adjustment in Vancouver when you turn around and you see Rick Tocchet
Yes.
staring at you and you're giving it a half-ass back check? Like that, to me, Patrick Waugh behind the bench probably has had an effect on the goaltending. You think of some coaches who've been like Rick Tocchet's like, didn't he play in 87? Canada
yeah.
Cup?
Yeah, he was at Cops Coliseum. Absolutely.
So, guys in Vancouver turn around, they see that face staring at you, and he's like asking you to block a shot. Like that's the intimidation factor still there from certain coaches.
Yeah, you might want to look into that. Absolutely. And Vancouver won last night. They're doing it without Demko. DeSmith didn't get challenged a lot, but got the job done against Montreal. And it's going to be an interesting week because Carolina won again last night. They beat Philly. I think it was in overtime. And this is the toughest two-pack of games anyone could likely play in the league right now. Edmonton, Carolina.
Without a doubt. Without a doubt.
Yeah, the way these two teams are playing, they're both making a case for the best team in the respective conference. Edmonton in the West and Carolina in the East. And this will be a real challenge. And again, if Bertuzzi, we'll see if he plays. Lyubushkin's not going to play. TJ Brody's not playing tomorrow. That's interesting. Even with Lyubushkin not coming back, this is a full reset. They're getting very reset happy down there, and I can
basically
understand
like
why.
a two-man scratch. There's a guy already out, and you're still not going back in.
Right, exactly. Lyubushkin's not even playing, and you're still going, which I actually appreciate more because that would suggest this isn't cavalier or this isn't about punishment.
No, it's
this
just
is
you're not
truly
good
a
enough.
reset. Yeah, you need to reset.
Yeah.
You're not
need
going
you to
in.
play better. That's what we need you to play better, and you're going to watch some video. Now they do have the luxury of the back-to-back game if there is something that goes sideways, but you're going with the same lineup. And I thought about this last night. Is it two high-flying teams that are feeling pretty good about themselves? Because the Leafs hung 7 on Washington the other night, so now and Edmonton hung, was it 7 or 8 last night? On 8
last night.
That's right. Connor Brown scored with 12
snuck
seconds
one
left.
in.
Right at the deadline.
28. I love that guy. That's twice he snuck one in with a minute left. And
well, didn't he score the hat trick? No, I'm sorry.
He scored his first
the
goal.
7th goal. Yeah, but he scored the 7th goal and got a standing ovation that night against, wasn't it Washington?
It was a team in the East. Yeah, I think it was Washington. Yeah.
Because it was Darcy Kemper in net standing there having to chew on the 7th goal and a standing ovation and people throwing hats on the ice and all of that for Connor Brown's first goal. And then last night, that was UPL. They left him in for all 8. Mm-hmm. And Brown snuck one in right with
right onto the buzzer, man. Snuck one in for Connor Brown. I love it. He's coming home. He's back home tomorrow night, too.
That's true.
He's on a bit of a heater.
Well, good for him. But
Yeah.
I was getting back to my point. You got two teams that have scored a ton.
Yep.
Are we expecting a 6-5 game tomorrow? Or are we
I
expecting
think these
a 2-1?
teams, they both rotate who's going to have the defensive effort. In Edmonton earlier this year, it was the Oilers. The Oilers played pretty good defensively, man. What was that hockey game? Was it 3-2? I think we did that game. It was like 3-2 Oilers.
I think
4-3
Edmonton
or
might have
3-2.
scored an empty netter or something, but
Yeah.
it was a tight game. It was a low-scoring tight game.
And Toronto has gone into Edmonton before and had very sound defensive efforts. It's like they just rotate which team is going to be a stalwart defensively. Can they both pull it off on the same night? Well, Toronto played pretty hard the last time they were at Edmonton. Like, that was a pretty hard-fought game.
Yeah.
And there was a couple blunders that ended up in their net.
It's a good game.
They-
It was a good game.
They weren't playing great at that point when they went out west.
No,
I
that
remember
was
it
kind of like an up and down type of stretch.
Yeah, they weren't in a great place. They scored early. I think Matthews scored early. They might have been up 2-0, and they let it get. That was one of those late in the third. They let it get away from them, and they lost 3-2, maybe 4-2 with an empty net. I kind of see it the other way, and maybe I'm trying to will that into existence. I want to see a shootout. Like when I do not, I want to see magic from McDavid. If you're down there, I'm going down. I want to be a part of it. I want to see it. I want to be in it. And I've been lucky enough to see him live, many times.
He had another play last night, Hayes. Highlight. Did that off the wall? That is
gross, man. And I think it was,
201.
yeah. 201 great plays. That's another one. You're right. We had that conversation yesterday. How many highlight reels does this guy already have? That
Right.
was, we established it was
201.
200. That was 201 last night.
Wow.
That was incredible. And even Draisaitl's play was incredible too, behind the back. And Ekholm, I'm pretty sure it was Ekholm just standing there in
Yeah.
the slot. But I want to see that out of McDavid. I want to see it out of Draisaitl. I want to see it out of Hyman. And I want to see it out of Matthews. What do you think is more likely that happens tomorrow night? Matthews scores 3 and gets to 60, or Hyman scores 2 and gets to 50?
I'm going to say Matthews. I really am, because I think when he gets on that heater, and the last game he's on a bit of a dry spell, and when he gets those two, a lot seem to follow. So I'm going to say Matthews.
I think so too, but I'm going to say neither. Because we're wanting it. You know
You
what I
gotta
mean?
pick one.
You
We're
gotta pick
wanting
one.
it. We're
Give me
wanting
one.
it. I want
Give
it
me
7-5. I want it 7-5 tomorrow.
Yeah.
And you know what's going to happen? It's going to be a 2-1 bore fest because both teams are going to play safe, and and neither one of them are going to get 3 or 2 or whatever. And it just, I'll go the other way. I'll play the heel. Hyman isn't that just justice?
It's more compelling.
Compelling.
Yeah, it's
2
more
goals
compelling.
to score 50 his first time, and he does it in Toronto where he left Toronto and he couldn't get $5.5 million here, and he gets it in.
They should
in
fly
Edmonton.
Dubas in for that. Dubas should have to fly in. He should fly in and present him with a gold jacket, a gold Leaf alumni jacket for scoring 50 first time in his career on a Saturday night.
God.
I kind of. It feels like Hyman, like we said, just does it all the time. And because Marner's not playing tomorrow, even though Matthews did what he did the other night without him, and what you state is 100% accurate, this guy multiple times this year has bundled together like a 3 or 4 game stretch that's gross. I could 100% see him ripping home 3, but the easier number is 2, and Hyman's going to go to the net tomorrow. So it goes off his knee and in. McDavid's probably going to put it on a T for him a couple of times. I'd probably lean Hyman, but either one of them happening tomorrow night would be truly incredible. And
Good theater.
It'd be great theater. It'd be great theater. And what's not likely to happen is McDavid hitting 100 assists tomorrow night. I think he's got 86 now after he had a 4-pack last night. But that's going to happen, right? Like if he's healthy, he's going to get to 100 assists. And only Gretzky, who I saw today, Gretzky did it 11 years in a row.
No way.
That's what I thought. That's what I saw today. 11 years in a row, and Orr and Lemieux did it once. So there's 3 players in NHL history that have had 100 assists in a season: Gretzky, Orr, Lemieux.
I honestly thought you were going to say 3 times. He did it 3 times. 11 years in a row.
That is crazy.
Make sure I saw that correctly, but give me 2 seconds.
That sounds
All right, here we go.
though.
All right, here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 years in a row. 11 years in a row, the guy had over 100 assists. And you know what's insane? Is one year he had 163 assists. Like at no point, the only time he barely made it was in 89-90, his second year in LA. He had 102 assists, and he got pissed at himself. So the next year he had 122. But every other year is like 120, 135, 163. It's just insane what Gretzky.
But you know what, though? You think about it. Go back and watch some of those games where he sets up behind the net, and there's like no defensive systems, right? Like one guy starts chasing him, and he goes out the other way, and then he spins around and backhand saucer, like literally. Like two defensemen would go behind the net chasing him, and he would just saucer it. Like there was no. Back then, the systematic play was so different. It was like man on man and just, hey, we're going to chase this guy around. And he would make saucer passes that, like to a guy in the Yari Curry in the slot, he just hammer it home one-timer all the time.
Crazy.
Like that's why they said that behind the net was his office, and they could never figure out, just leave him there. Like going,
right.
He can't score from behind the net. So like, cover the guys in front, but people would be chasing him behind the net and trying to run him.
Took him 11 years. They finally figured that out.
Exactly.
11 years. So McDavid's going to get there again, which is an incredible accomplishment. But I think what needs to be notified here and what needs to start to get a little bit more buzz. Now, McDavid's going to take it as he should. Greatest player in the world. Plays in the Canadian market. He's back home. He's in Toronto tomorrow night. It's going to be a huge storyline, and it will be when he gets there. Kucherov has 81 assists, and he's got 13 games left.
Dude, that guy's not getting enough love.
That guy's he's going to hit 102
points.
He's going to hit 100. He had 4 assists last night. I looked it up because I had to do something again on SC on this. He's had 23 assists in his last 13 games. He needs 19 in his next 13 to hit 100 assists too. Gretzky or Lemieux, McDavid, Kucherov. Like, Kucherov's going to hit 100 assists.
Hayes, and I don't mind people saying, because he's a good Canadian kid and he's a hell of a player, that, like, people are kind of handing him the heart right now. And I'm like, Kucherov, like, if you're not watching what that guy does on a regular basis, like, that's a 2-horse race right now going right down the line. Like, people got to, like, continue to make sure they're checking that out. Don't hand it to Nate McKinnon yet. As good as he is and as much as I love him, that Kucherov, like if that was another team and another player dragging his team like that, like he's been their guy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
like everything is running through him. I don't care if it's power play or not. He is the man down there.
Yeah.
And if that was another great feel-good story somewhere else where someone else was, it almost feels like people say, well, he's already got one.
Yeah, that's
You know
a
what I
part
mean?
of it.
Yeah.
That's what he's got. He's got a 5-point buffer on McKinnon now. Like
No,
now,
I know, but I think people are saying, oh, he's already got a hard trophy.
100%.
Nate needs his, so it's Nate's time.
Yeah.
I don't think that's the right thing to do, man. He's been unbelievable, Kucherov.
You got to look at situation too. You see the assist where he was on his knees. He was on his
hit
knees
from behind.
Sickening.
But
Unreal.
this Braden Point's got a quiet 40.
Well,
quiet
how about
41.
Duclair? Like Duclair's down there. He's like, I'll tap in one-timers from this guy. He had 2, I
Exactly.
think, last night. He's playing with Point and Kucherov.
That guy went from San Jose back, to
Unreal.
Tampa.
That's
Like,
a
good for
happy
Duclair.
man right there, Anthony Duclair, as he
Yeah.
should be. But yeah, he had 4 assists last night. He's got 23 assists in his last 12 games, let alone 13. He needs.
I watched him live from higher up. Not higher up. They had pretty good seats. He reminds me of 99, the way he passes the puck and distributes it in like odd man situation. Like there's no comparing Wayne Gretzky, but just the way Kucherov thinks, and it's almost like a guy will just be kind of sniffing around, and Kucherov finds him, and he makes the guy wide open. It was 99 like watching that guy from up above.
Yeah.
Like he's that good.
Did you
He's
see
gross.
the assist the other day through the neutral zone where he flicked it like it was passed to him and he elevated it so it went over the. So he was in the middle of the ice and he got past the puck from the wing, and he, instead of him like handling it, he flicked it up so it went wide to Point stick over top of the defender stick. He
Gross.
actually meant to do it. Like he flicked it. Instead of handling it and passing it on, he just scooped it, and it just elevated over the defenseman's stick.
He's disgusting.
He's
man.
gross, man. He's got the silkiest hands in the game. I think he's got vision. He's got courage to pull it off, and
Well,
he
he's
slows
got-
the game down. Like
He's
and
got
he's got
some
snarl.
meanness.
He does
Yeah, I was
have a
just
little bit
gonna
of
say,
meanness
like,
and some
he's-
snarl.
Yeah, he's got the mean stick, and he's been suspended before, and he kind of the wires cross from. You know what it is? People, it's the Russian factor too.
That's a part of it.
People
too.
hate Russians, and that's it is what it is. But like right now, the war and all that. But it's just, if this guy was born in Whitby or something, like
it'd be
out.
crazy, man. And yeah, like he's making a case. I think Ovechkin's probably generally considered the greatest Russian-born player ever. If not, he's certainly right there. And there's other great guys over the course of time. And obviously during the Cold War, they didn't come over and all that.
Right.
But I don't see how Kucherov isn't quickly moving up the ranks. And like if he keeps this up in another 10 years, I don't know, man. Like this guy, he's going to end up with like 145 points this year. How many Russian players have ever done that? Like he's probably going to win another Hart, or possibly anyway. That could be 2. How many Russian players have ever done that? Ovi's got 3. Like he's gross, man.
Yeah.
He is gross.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, so we got a good show today. We got MJ coming up, Pierre's coming up, Dear Hazy B making its triumphant return. It's been a couple of weeks. Dear Hazy B coming up at 6:30, and your boy Hal Gill, our buddy Hal Gill. We've had him on multiple times in the past.
Yeah.
This is an unbelievable story. We'll break it down. What's been going on in Nashville, who they beat last night,
and how it started.
And how it started, most importantly, which is pretty incredible. And Hal's obviously a former Leaf himself. We'll get his take on what he saw to the Panthers last night, what he makes of where the Leafs are at, number of things to get into with him. Overdrive continues, TSN 1050 and on the TSN app. All right, so a lot going on in the NHL, clearly. Big weekend for the Leafs. Edmonton in town tomorrow. They're in Carolina on Sunday. But you talk about a team that is red hot. The hottest team in the NHL right now is the Nashville Predators. They won again last night against Florida.
Yeah.
And they are 14-0-2 in their last 16 games. But they're 14-0-2 since Andrew Brunette, who should now be up for Coach of the Year,
Yes.
checks every box, basically told the boys, we're on our way to Vegas. You had plans to go see you two at the Sphere, but they got dummied the night before, and he basically ripped that privilege away from them and said, we're not going. We're not going to the Sphere. We're not going to see you two. Personally, I think that's actually a positive. I'm not the biggest U2 guy personally, but ever since then, and there was tons of outcry, can't do that. Team's going to turn on this guy.
Give it a rest.
Look what happened. Look what happened. They're 14-0-2 ever since U2 and Bono and the boys were ripped away.
Skillsy went.
You think Hal Gill still wins?
Oh,
I guarantee what he did in Vegas, because his signature move is to open the door and tomahawk chuck his luggage in and not even go in, and he went right to the Sphere. Yeah.
The bag chuck and a shot of whiskey, and he went. I'm telling you, he didn't. I mean, Brunette didn't ground him.
Right,
he didn't
of
ground
course.
him and Chris Mason. Those guys, I guarantee you, they hit every bar, making sure the guys weren't out. They were
Bring him
checking
in here. I
everyone.
got to ask him a question.
All right, here's Hal Gill. Go ahead.
Skillsy, welcome to the show. I just want to ask you, do you still give medical advice where if someone has the sniffles or a sore throat, a large glass of whiskey, gargle it, and enjoy it, and you'll feel better?
Absolutely. Scotch. You got to get your scotch in. Oh, that's 100%. And that's not, I took credit for that, but that was prescribed by PJ Axelson when I was playing with him in Boston. I had a cold, and he said, we're going out, we're going to grab a scotch, and you're going to feel red as rain the next day. And guess what? I did, and it worked.
PhD.
The problem is like if you have a really bad cold, that doesn't mean you have like 4 or 5 scotches.
I love it, PJ Axelson.
I still try.
Okay. Did you go to the Sphere? Did you see you too?
What happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. You know that, right? No,
So tell us the
we
story,
weren't even part of
Skillsy.
it. The broadcast was not part of that trip. That was their own thing. They set it all up, and that was part of their own thing. And it was a shame. I know they were upset that it was that they weren't able to go. It seemed to have worked out the best in the long run.
I would say so, man. 14-0-2, like because it was a story. We were talking about former players. A lot of players were talking as if Andrew Brunette didn't play in the league for a long time. I mean, he was a player.
And he's old school. Like, he's not like...
Right. And it was ugly, right? Like, how the night they lost, like, they had their doors blown off, and it looked like it's starting to move in a bad direction, like they're going to miss the playoffs and possibly by a lot. And now they're the hottest team in the league, and they're basically a lock to go to the playoffs.
Yeah, put yourself in Barry Trotz's shoes where he's saying, oh, I'm going through this rebuild. I want this team to – they're on the bubble. I want to see where they're at. And then they throw up a 9-2 stinker against a division rival in the Stars, and they get spanked. And he's thinking, sell, 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 sell. I got to get rid of these guys because they're garbage. And then they turn around and play the way they have since then. I mean, they went on a 5-game road trip and beat up everyone, and not just beat them up, but beat them up good. It was a great road trip, and then they've just been humming right along since then. So, Barry Trotz had to change his tune pretty quick.
Scalzi, is there a formula there that you've figured out here, or they've figured out in the 16 games? Obviously, they've got the goaltender, and they've got a rock star defenseman in Yossi. But I was in Nashville a couple weeks.
That guy's big time.
Oh, he's unbelievable. He's unbelievable. But looking at this group, is there something else that we're missing when you watch them nightly? Is that you're seeing and had the luxury of seeing during this streak?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of different levels. I think Bruno's system and the way he plays, he wants them to play. They're just tenacious on pucks. Like they don't ever go back into a defensive system. It's just hunt pucks, hunt, and they're all over. Their motto is relentless right now. They have the hats that say relentless, and they really do play that way. But I think getting deeper into it, you look at a guy that like a pickup like Ryan O'Reilly. He's an old school guy himself. Like he works extremely hard, and right away he got Forsberg on board with him. He's got Nyquist on that line, and they go out and they play that gritty, hard fight for pucks. Maintain possession, battle. You look at the goals that Forsberg scored against Florida, and they're right in around the net. Like they're gritty goals. They're not playing a pretty game, and I think it goes up and down the lineup where you have every line that wants to play that hard nose, hard to play against gritty game, and they're doing it with certainly a skill level, but it's more that tenacity that they have. And then, you talked about Roman Josi, who's, in my opinion, the best defenseman in the game right now, but he's also got Ryan McDonough. McDonough is so good, and he's so sneaky, just kind of goes about doing his thing, and as a defenseman, looking at him, the way he plays the game, he's flawless at times, and it's really fun to watch. And then I know Juice has been phenomenal, but how about Kevin Lankinen coming in and beating, in my opinion, the best team in the league in Florida? It's like they've got everything going right now.
Skills, you don't want to dump on guys that just walked out the door, but how important or critical was Trotzy kind of assessing things in making the culture change with two guys leaving? Because it would have been easy to just say they signed long-term, they're going to stay here, we're going to keep things status quo, and he just moved a couple guys out, and Duchesne and Johansson, and it just wanted something different.
Yeah, well, you got to tip your hat to Trotzy. I mean, he's going to pay, he's got to retain some salary, and it's going to be tough, especially next year. I think that all kicks in, and so he's got to dodge that bullet, but he was really focused on that culture change. He was not messing around. He wanted the guys to play a certain way, and he brought in guys like O'Reilly and Nyquist, Luke Schenn, like kind of heart and soul, meat and potatoes guys that I think that they've done a great job of taking that culture and running with it. And I think, you look at the leadership, and now it's interesting because I always talked about leadership, but Bruno keeps bringing up secondary leadership, which he's a firm believer in, of guys that, that maybe aren't the captain or the assistant captain, but guys that extend out that culture and play the right way. Guys like Colton Sissons, Jeremy Lauzon, Alex Carrier, second level guys that have shown leadership that are really carrying the torch for the guys.
Chatting with Hal Gill, and obviously you mentioned last night the Preds, what they did to Florida, and you're a Leaf alumni. I think the Leafs are preparing to either play the Panthers or your former team as well, the Bruins. I know you're aware of the history, Leafs Bruins. We know what happened last year, Leafs Panthers. But you've seen it up close and personal. You're watching that Panthers game. You mentioned a minute ago you think they're probably the pound for pound best team in the league. Like how big of a challenge do you think that's going to be for the Leafs, whether it's to try to get through Florida or try to get through the Bruins?
It was interesting because I think the Panthers are bullies, and they're missing some key players, and of course Barkov being out of lineup was kind of nice for the Preds to go in there without him in the lineup. But yeah, they tried to bully, and the Preds stood up to him, and they fought through it, and I just think they've got so many different attributes. It starts with Bobrovsky, right? He looked awesome in the first period, and the Preds peppered him with some good shots, and he made big saves. And then out from there, they got good, solid D. They've got big forwards. They got fast forwards. Reinhart is got some of the best hands you'll ever see. So, I think they're kind of the total package, and so you're going to have to come at them in different ways. It's not just going to be your top guys going out and winning games. You're going to have to do it with some depth, and I think that's the challenge.
Yeah.
What about the the goalie with Nashville? Is he need a contract too? And his name has been thrown around quite a bit in trade rumors. Do you think they want to keep him? It's just a matter of a number, or what are you looking at with UC Saros?
I think it's going to be a pretty easy signing. I don't think that's going to be a problem. You know what? It's interesting looking back on it when all of a sudden Saros' name comes up in trade talks, and Barry Trotz was very upfront. Like if we get the right trade, we're going to make it work. We have to for the organization. I think it got in hindsight, I think it got the attention of the players. Like, whoa! Like you're going to trade one of the best goalies in the game? Like that's not fair to us. And I think Barry Trotz, with that move, with saying, I'm open to talks about Saros, I think he got their attention saying, if you want to keep this guy, well,
let's see. I don't know. It was almost the end of the road. His line needs a glass of scotch. One.
Just one.
Get that
just a little
glass
sip.
I love that it was PJ Axelson. Like he outs him. Like it wasn't like a grizzled vet or whatever. Like PJ Axelson is
Swedish guy. Yeah,
Swedish guy. Like that's Swedish Remedy, I guess.
I love that's such a random hockey name, PJ Axelson too. Like he only played in Boston too. I'm looking up his stats, almost 800 games.
He was a good player. He was on that checking line forever.
Right.
Yeah.
Anyway, we got you back, Hal. We'll let you go. We appreciate you doing this. I mean, it must just be an incredible run though. And you're gearing up for the playoffs, and Ryan O'Reilly, Luke Schenn, a couple of ex-Leafs are down there. Like, you guys feel like you can do some damage? The Preds can do some damage here?
They're proving it. They keep proving it. Every time I say they're not going to be able to do it, they turn around and they stuff it right in our face like they did against Florida. So, hey, we'll keep riding the wave as long as she goes. You know the deal, right? Ride her till she bucks you.
Absolutely. We appreciate it, Hal. Really appreciate the time and the insight, man. We'll do it again down the road.
Sounds good. Cheers, guys.
There's Hal Gill.
That guy is a legend, man.
He just seems like a great guy.
He is. He loved competing. He loves the New England Patriots. He loves cold beers, and he loves winning. Like, he's just a guy's guy.
Yeah. Monster, too, wasn't he? He's a massive
6'6".
Yeah. Massive guy.
He was my first fight, too.
Really?
Hal Gill?
Hal Gill's my first NHL fight.
How did that transaction go down?
It was one of those things, Noodles. I'd been around for a while, and I was like, it's going to happen sooner or later. And it was like slash, and then you look and you're like, I guess this guy's going to drop his gloves, but I don't think he had any intentions because he was 7 feet taller than me. And I just remember him punching the top of my helmet like Coco Bonks, like on the top of my head. It was just I was throwing air punches. It was ridiculous.
Yeah.
I'm looking at it. He's 6'7", 244 when he played.
Why would you knock on that door?
Dude, I don't know. The worst part was I didn't land one punch. Not one. Impossibility.
Mm-hmm.
And It goes to TV timeout, and the Grim Reaper skates over with a bag of ice and says, "Throw those on your knuckles." And I'm like, come on, man. Throw the ice bag on your knuckles. And he started laughing, and it was just a brutal thing to do because he knew there was nothing
great.
there.
That's great. Well, yeah, man, a little scotch, and you can get over anything, I guess. Maybe Bertuzzi needs that tonight. I could see Tyler Bertuzzi thinking that way, and see if he ends up playing tomorrow night. Yeah, the old PJ Axelson, Hal Gill move. But interesting breakdown of what he said about the Panthers and their reputation. They just try to bully you, and that's what's coming. Right, like that's what they're going to try to do: hit and fight and push and mock and chirp. And you want to scrum, we'll scrum. You want to fight, and if that's who the Leafs get, you better be ready. You better be ready to go. You know, like you can. And in the playoffs, it's just not possible to be like, well, we'll let you go to the box all the time. Like,
dude,
they don't. It doesn't work that way.
There's no way to kind of tread lightly into that type of environment. You're either all in. It's like the Masters. You don't show up there to find your game. Like, you better have it when you hit your first tee shot.
Exactly.
Against the Panthers, if you're not all in and prepared for that and ready to fight back, then you're probably screwed.
Yeah.
Like, if you don't understand that that's coming after doing it last year and knowing what it feels like and knowing what it looks like, and if you don't jump in with both feet, you'll get smoked.
Yeah, exactly.
You'll get smoked, and shame on you for not being ready for it because you know it's coming.
It's coming, and it's in your best interest to not wait for it, be proactive, and you start it.
Yes.
Dump it in the corner and smack someone immediately. Punch someone. Even if you take a penalty, it doesn't even – fine. Early in the game, early in the series, just let everyone know we're here, and if you want a piece, whenever you're ready. You know, it sounds ridiculous, but it's the nature of hockey and physical sports and playoffs, and if you're not ready to hit and push and fight and be nasty and mean – you can't win, man.
The Leafs have guys who do that, but it's going to be the question is, are the top guys going to be able to fight through that? That's the question, ultimately.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly. I mean, we saw it in Boston a couple of weeks ago, and the audio's been released of Marchand, mic'd up and yelling at Marner, and that's the guy that they're gonna look at Marner and Matthews and Nylander and chirp and punch and say, we're coming for you, we're gonna kill you, we're gonna do this and do that, and those guys, they got to go back at it, and they got to push through, or they got to say, hey, whenever you're ready. Yeah. Like if you come at us and we'll talk, we'll figure it out. But we're here to win, and we're getting closer and closer. All right, Mike Johnson coming up, Pierre LeBrun coming up, Dear Hazy B. The Raptors are facing a historical deficit tonight. We'll tell you what we mean by that next.
I'd like to offer an apology to JP because
saw that on Twitter.
This time it went too far because I have to come clean. And JP, I know you're back there. Whenever we're not on TV, I like to throw out a tweet saying, if you have any issues with this is JP decision, and I put JP's Twitter handle. But JP has nothing to do with whether we're on TV or not.
Yeah, I know. I saw that yesterday.
And I saw somebody tweet at JP today saying, are you going to answer my DM, or how are we going to handle this? And I'm like, that's gone too far, man. JP, I'm sorry, buddy. I'll never do that again.
Honestly, I have some fun with it too myself, so I can't.
Did you get DMs?
I didn't get a DM, but the person in this situation did message me on Twitter saying I need to get off my ass and put you guys on TV 5 days a week.
Yeah, very stable.
You need to get off your ass.
Very stable. I mean, the explanation's pretty simple. March Madness is on. There's a lot going on.
But you know what? This is a fair comeback for any fan of Overdrive, and I really don't know the importance of putting us on TV, but there's 5 channels. That's what they come back with.
Regional, and I know we'll have to explain it eventually, but there's, if every region gets their own assigned channel, right? But there's TSN 1, TSN 2, right? There's a national channel and then a regional channel. We're TSN 4 in Ontario, right?
Yeah.
So it's hard to explain, because people are like, you got 5 channels. Well, not
Anyway,
really.
it's
Yeah,
not
they can't just
JP's
move it
fault.
everywhere. It's not JP's
not
fault.
JP's
We have
fault.
no idea when we're on, how it works. There's a lot of programming, though. Again, there's a lot of hoops to get through because with March Madness on, there's so many games, and obviously the network's very preoccupied. There's tennis tournaments. There's a lot going on. So, we're streaming. Or this is why you got to download the podcast and get the iHeartRadio app and the TSN app and FanDuel Sportsbook app. You can find us there. You can find us everywhere. So there's other ways to figure it out. But the Raptors are in action. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander's in town. I guess he received his Canadian Athlete of the Year award today. And they are a 17-point underdog. 17 point. That's a 1 versus 16 seed. That's what's happening tonight. The Raptors are a 16 seed, and they're playing Oklahoma City. It's the biggest dog they've ever been at home. Again, this was like, we're talking the 98 Bulls when they were in town and that Raptor team actually beat them. They were not a 17-point underdog. They're like plus 980 or something on the money line to win. Almost 10-1 for them to win outright tonight on FanDuel. It's crazy. And it's understandable because Oklahoma City's great. And we know Barnes is out, Pirtle's out, Barrett's out, Quickly's out. It sounds like Gary Trent might be out. Like literally they're starting 5. And even if all those guys were playing, they'd be dogs. They'd still be underdogs against this Oklahoma City team. But I guess what FanDuel and others are telling us, they might lose by 40 tonight.
Yeah.
Like there's a chance they just get absolutely destroyed.
I would say that's exactly what that spread says, Hayes.
Yeah, I know. That's a big number, but I don't know how they keep it close. Like if Shai plays, and he will, I don't see how they keep it close. Hour 2 coming up. Overdrive continues. TSN 1050 online, tsn1050.ca.